The Zach LaVine trade rumors are heating up, Bulls fans, as we're getting reports that the trade market for LaVine is growing and could be way bigger than we expected. And then on the second half of today's show, I do want to talk about Brook Lopez. As you know, I don't think it's likely the Bulls trade for him, but we are getting reports that he could be on the trade market. So I want to discuss, how maybe the Bulls could pull off a Vooch for Lopez deal. But my name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in to the Bulls Report. But before we dive into it, guys, if you could help us reach 7,500 subscribers, I would love to hit it before the NBA draft this Wednesday. We just need 240 of you guys. So hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and stay up to date on the latest around your favorite basketball team. But this is I would call it a bombshell report coming in from my man Joe Cowley saying, according to a source, Bulls also feel there is a growing trade market for Zach LaVine, with a handful of teams feeling like they have no shot at several of the coveted free agents that will be out there. Let the game of chicken begin. And this was absolute music to my ears when I got this report a couple days ago. So, good news there that a trade market could be growing for Zach LaVine. But, the biggest kicker with LaVine is definitely his contract. And, speaking of a kicker, he does have a 15% trade bonus when he does get traded. So that will go up 15% on all of these years once he is dealt. But in 26 does have that player option of $48 million. If I had to call it right now, he's probably going to opt into that. But this is probably the biggest red flag that teams are seeing when discussing a trade for Zach LaVine. But if the trade market is growing, I want to go over 5 teams that I could see swinging a Zach LaVine trade. And the team we have heard the most reported and connected to possibly landing the 2-time All-Star is the Sacramento Kings. And, I thought once they signed Malik Monk to that 4-year, $78 million deal, that the Kings front was kind of going to slow down a little bit. But there was actually reports suggesting that even though they did sign Malik Monk, it does not change their thoughts on Zach LaVine, and they could be interested. So what could a trade look like? We'll keep it simple. I don't think the Bulls are going to be able to get any first-round picks for LaVine if they are getting, obviously 2 players involved. And, this would be Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes for LaVine. I don't love this deal for the Bulls just because, you are selling Zach LaVine at an all-time low value here. But I do think the Bulls have a need on this roster for more play finishers. And that's what Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes are. What I mean by that is just guys end of the shot clock who, may not have a complete bag of moves, but they can excel at the catch-and-shoot 3, end of the shot clock. They can excel, just getting to the rim or a one-dribble pull-up, just like super, simple moves. And I think those two do it at the very high level. And I think those would be good complementary, pieces next to a Kobe White, I would assume, or, obviously Josh Giddey now. So this was the trade idea. If they do send LaVine to Sacramento, this is the package that I think will get it done. But number 2 for me, San Antonio Spurs. I wanted to put them number 1 on this, but we haven't really gotten any reports around the Spurs being interested. This is just kind of my own intuition, just assuming that San Antonio would be interested in the 2-time All-Star, and this feels most likely to me. I just can't see the Kings, even though we have gotten reports that they're very interested, I just can't see it getting done. The Spurs, on the other hand, this makes a lot of sense. We talk about the negatives with Zach LaVine, his contract, and just, defensively and being a leader. Well, if he goes to San Antonio, those negatives are really covered up because they got Wemby on his rookie deal still. You have Spurs culture and Greg Popovich, which should help him, defensively and, just overall being a leader and a winning basketball player. So I could see the Spurs being ultra aggressive, trying to, capitalize on Wemby, during these first 4 or 5 years of his rookie deal. So if I had to call it right now, if I had to say where Zach LaVine gets traded this offseason, I would say the San Antonio Spurs. But if you look at the reports, you look at what other NBA insiders are saying, they're saying the Kings. But I don't know. Some just tells me that LaVine could be headed to San Antonio. But Casey Johnson did report also, works for NBC Sports Chicago, that the Utah Jazz could be interested in a Zach LaVine trade. And, I thought it would be pretty funny if, it's LaVine and Lauri Markkanen are like the headliners of the Utah Jazz moving forward, just 2 former Chicago Bulls that I guarantee you, just given the Bulls' luck over the past couple of years, we would see those 2 go to Utah and they would make a Western Conference Finals or whatever it may be. So this is the trade idea I cooked up. I absolutely love this. If the Bulls could swing this move, you do it in a heartbeat. But would the Jazz give up pick 10 for LaVine? I am not sure, but maybe they're desperate. And I think, with this trade market growing, maybe the package the Bulls get in return is a lot higher than we originally thought. I originally said on a show, Bulls fans, be prepared to be disappointed in a Zach LaVine trade. But now I'm honestly thinking, I bet you will be pleasantly surprised. So this was a deal I had, John Collins and pick 10 for Zach LaVine, the contract match. And, if you could, if you were the Bulls, you get a 26-year-old John Collins, you would have picks 10 and 11. Then you have Giddey, Williams, Kobe White, DeSumo, a bunch of young talent. Like, this would be my dream trade if I could pick any of them, that are floated out there. But number 4, I got the Magic. Magic are an interesting one. I think they're going to be interested in LaVine. I got Paolo, you got Wagner, but they still need that elite scoring guard. And, they have a couple valuable assets they could give up. Like, I don't think they would be, so disappointed, moving off pick 18, especially with this draft, not being as good as it was in compared to past years. So I could see them giving up pick 18 and then Jonathan Isaac for Zach LaVine. And, if you're the Bulls, if you could land Jonathan Isaac, you do this in a heartbeat. I am a huge fan of him. And, he was worked back in the rotation this past year following his injury history, only playing 15 minutes a game, but almost averaged 7 points. And the thing I love about Isaac is he's that long 3-and-D, typical forward we have in the NBA. And I'm not comparing him to Michael Porter Jr., but let's just say he ever gets that three-point shot to a consistent, 40%. I could see Isaac being a really high impact and just a good starter here we have in the league. So here's the trade details. I would do this in a heartbeat. If you don't get the Jazz deal, which I would prefer over this, this could be a deal that I would absolutely love for the Bulls to pull off. But last team I have on this list, the Miami Heat, as they have been looking for that over-the-top score for the past couple of years. You have Bam, you have Jimmy, maybe the Heat view LaVine as that guy that finally pushes that needle and, gets them to win a NBA championship. But a Heat trade is very complicated. The trade that makes the most sense for matching salary rise for Miami is Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero for LaVine. I'm not sure they would give that up. So if it would be to Miami, probably have to be a 3-teamer. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. Now, you guys may be saying, what about the Philadelphia 76ers? We did get a report. Casey Johnson said they were interested, but then Kyle Neubeck tweeted this out saying, spoke to a league source who said Sixers' position on Zach LaVine has not changed since the trade deadline. Philly is not interested in pursuing. So it doesn't seem like Philly's interested. Again, keep your eyes on the 3 teams, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Jazz. Those are the 3 I think that are going to be most, interested in LaVine ahead of the NBA draft. But speaking about the NBA draft, will Zach LaVine be traded before Wednesday, before the 2024 NBA draft? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down in the comment section. I'm gonna say yes, and this is also just wishful thinking. So I'll be typing my Y's down below. But coming up next on the program, we're going to be talking about trading for Brook Lopez and also looking at a trade that could bring back Derrick Rose to Chicago. So stay tuned for that. But before we dive into it, guys, I want to tell you guys about the sweet deal we have going on right now. It's a 2 T-shirt pack. If you guys head to chatsports.com/Bulls combo, you can get both these T-shirts for a great price. I got mine last summer. I rocked them all the time. During the year. Great shirt to wear, super comfortable. So if you guys want more Bulls merchandise in your life, check that link, chatsports.com/Bulls combo. And also a little programming alert here at Chat Sports. We're going to be going live for the 2024 NBA draft. So if you guys see this thumbnail on your YouTube page, click on it, check it out. We got some of the best coverage out there. So make sure you guys do support us here at Chat Sports. If you guys see this thumbnail, click it, come hang out, and I promise you guys will have a good time. But where does it stand on the Brook Lopez front? So Jake Fisher had this report saying the Bucks are gauging the trade value for Brook Lopez. And I immediately thought, I was like, oh, maybe the Bulls could trade Nikola Vucevic for Brook Lopez. Now, would the Bucks do this? I really have no idea. I think Brook Lopez has more value than Vuce, but maybe the Bucks just want more offensive talent, and I think Vuce would offer it. I mean, you compare their years this past season. Brook Lopez, way better three-point shooter and way better rim protector. So I think, he does obviously have more value, I think, on the open market. But Vooch, in terms of a guy, push shot, back to the basket, I saw some crazy stat out there that Vooch had some of the worst efficiency on spot-up possessions for a big man this past year, and honestly, it did not shock me. But, Vooch, he still put up 18 a game, 10.5 rebounds, 48.2% from the field. And, maybe us Bulls fans, we just think that Vooch is, we just think he's, just a waste of a player and doesn't have that much value. But maybe another team's looking at him and saying, we could get the positives out of Nikola Vucevic. And actually, the contracts would work here. Brook Lopez has a 1 year remaining on his deal of $23 million. So you could honestly, if you could, let's just say this, if you could swap Vooch for Brook Lopez, you do it and you absolutely run with it. Like, that would be a great trade for the Bulls because, one, I like Brook Lopez's fit a whole lot better. I like him a whole lot more in the pick and pop game than, obviously Vooch, as he was one of the worst spot up shooters in the league this past season. And also, like, I'm not saying if you get Lopez and you replace him with Vooch that you would be almost tanking a little bit, but I think Lopez would help the tank a little more than Vooch because, if Lopez is getting heavy minutes, 30, 35 a night, like, that's not his role. So I could see the Bulls running Lopez and, Drummond if that's a deal. But if you could somehow pull that off, point being, you'd do it. But I did see this trade out there floated on the internet, and it was a Nikola Vucevic trade idea, which had him going to the Memphis Grizzlies. And the point was that if there is any team that could be trading for Vooch, I could see the Grizzlies being one of those guys because, if you think about Vooch in a perfect world, you would want him next to one of the best defensive, power forwards in the league. Grizzlies have that. They got Jaren Jackson, and they could actually create a sick lineup of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson, and then Nikola Vucevic. It would be absolutely insane. So what would the Bulls get? You would bring back Derrick Rose. You get Luke Kennard. You get a 2027 first-round pick. I would absolutely love that deal for Chicago, but again, unlikely. I just am really curious to see what Vooch's trade value is out there, on the market. But you guys let me know. What is the next move you need to see the Bulls make? If I had to say it, it's trading Zach LaVine or trading Nikola Vucevic. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. And make sure you guys are subscribed. We are also going to be going live for the NBA Draft here on the Bulls Report channel at 6 p.m. So if you guys could, tune in. Check us out. It's going to be a ton of fun. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.